Welcome back to Talking College Baseball. I am your host, Chris Barber. I'm riding by myself today, no co-host, but I'd like to introduce you to our guest today, Kansas City Royal, Shane Panzini. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no worries, boss.
Yeah, so we haven't talked in forever. For people that don't know, me and Shane go back a long time from even playing against each other in middle school. Then we went to same high school and everything just kind of took off from there. But that being said, Shane, like most of our podcasts, we always start in the beginning, and we like to know from our guest what made you start playing baseball and what made you fall in love with the game.
I think my older brother Blaze had a pretty big impact on starting out baseball. We're 3 years apart, so it's not that big of an age difference, but he was always there. He kind of took me under his wing, smaller little league, so we would always be playing each other, things like that. But yeah, he's probably the reason why I got so obsessed with it. Just kept playing because played for 1 year in high school together as well. We won a championship, so it was fun. He was always by my side.
That's great. Obviously, he's what 3-4 years older than you.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of an age gap. Obviously, you probably lost a lot when you were younger, especially you have an older brother as well, and they probably kicked your ass your whole life. So I guess it gave you, because I'm the youngest child too, but you have a younger brother as well. But having two older brothers definitely teaches you a lot about just being competitive.
Kind of tells you when to speak, when not to speak, what to say, what not to say. Gives you a good feel at a young age, I like to say.
Yeah, they give you a good feel, but Shane, come on, let's be honest. Me and you both know. Hey, sometimes the feel wasn't there. Sometimes the feel wasn't there, especially if you bring in shout out to Chris Dixo. If you bring him into it, he's probably somebody with the least amount of feel I've ever met, and you guys together were right there. So I've just got to be honest on this podcast. All honesty.
Yeah, definitely, especially adding Degnan in that mix too. The three of us.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, maturity and feel. It doesn't. That does not combine into that. Before we get into more baseball stuff, what would you, if you have something to say to those guys, especially Chris Dixon, what would you say?
I was on FaceTime with him the other day, actually. We were telling each other we needed to talk more. He was doing something with his frat, so he had to run pretty quickly. But something I got to say to Chris Dixon. I haven't seen him in a minute, so I miss him. But I think we need to run some 2v2 basketball again, me and Dix over, you and Dave.
Think so.
That was, don't lie. Is all honesty. You said that was one of the toughest losses of your life right there. That loss to me and Dixo.
You kind of broke up right there. But anyway, to our next point. To our next point. Actually, that's actually a very good thing that you said there. How do you think? I mean, obviously, you grew up in a house of all athletes. Your mom was an athlete. Your dad was an athlete. All your brothers are athletes. How was it like? I'm not saying Chris Dixon's not an athlete, but let's be real. He's not like as competitive of an athlete as your family was and everyone you're friends with. Do you think it benefited you a lot to have somebody that's not like driven athletically to just kind of like take your mind off the game?
I would say more so now, almost like. I mean, we play 140 something games in the minor leagues a year, so having people to talk to that won't especially someone from a young age, like those guys, like that won't just ask questions about baseball. They actually want to know how you're doing. They want to know what you're up to, where you're at. So it is good to check in with them, um, and kind of bring you back down to earth, especially if you're struggling or even doing well by that. But it is good to have non-athletes in your life, I would say, especially when they're doing the right things. Um, just people to talk to.
Yeah, no, it's great. So let's get back to what we were talking about how your brother kind of introduced you to the game and always pushed you to where you're at now. So that started at a young age. Little league, you mentioned. When you got into middle school, did you play different sports or was it just baseball?
Middle school, yeah, I think I went to a pretty small middle school. Everyone, if you were semi-athletic, would play soccer, basketball, and baseball. Mostly just to make up a full roster. We had like 20, 25 kids in a grade. So it wasn't that big of a town to where you could kind of just sit out. We just had to put people in a position that even if they didn't play the sport, like I was playing soccer in middle school, which I haven't touched a soccer ball since I stopped playing there.
You're a goalie, weren't you not?
Um, I can't even tell you the names of the positions in soccer. I was near the goalie, in the back corner, something like that. Defense, just kick the ball away.
Just standing there. I got it. The statue. Uh, um, okay, so you played multiple sports, but did that continue when you went to high school?
Um, I was going to freshman football was a big thing at RBC. Like
Yeah.
right? Everyone kind
Mhm.
of plays to get to know each other. Before I was going to do that, but before the tryouts, I got hurt playing basketball, so I kind of had to sit out, and then I never really got back into it because by that time, like sophomore year came around, I was really into baseball. I played freshman basketball, but
Freshman
that was
basketball
it.
is always fun. Shout out Devin Gilroy, Mr. Gilroy.
Uh,
He's
yeah,
uh
good man.
he's a great guy, great guy. So I mean, you played all these sports when you're growing up, though. I mean, obviously you'd be in the backyard playing God knows what, right, with your brothers. Um, so I mean, I guess in a way, it's like, yeah, you maybe not continued to play on other sports in high school, but like growing up, you're probably outside all day, right? I mean, you're probably playing basketball and just doing a whole bunch of things with your brothers.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, you know my mom, right? She would never let
yeah,
us stay outside for more than an hour at a time during the summer. She was
yeah,
kind of tough on it. But looking back on it, it was a good thing. Definitely glad I wasn't one of those guys glued to video games all day or something like that. I like being outside.
yeah. It's actually funny. I talk to a lot of professional athletes, obviously, on here, and a lot of them were similar growing up. They always were outside playing this, playing that, and they're like, but nothing we like more than just coming back from playing our sport and playing video games. Like they're just like, I love video games now. I used to hate them when I was younger, but now I love them. So I think that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of my buddies do that. They'll get in the locker room after a game, after a win, and start talking about who's jumping on what party and what video game.
Just grinding on Fortnite or Call of Duty or the show.
Something
I
like
mean,
that.
I don't understand. I never understood that. How do baseball players in the minor leagues play the show? I just can't. If you want to get your mind off of baseball, how do you play the show? It's literally baseball in the minor leagues a lot of the time.
I think it would be more um maybe like competing against your other teammates, just trying to make everything a competition. I know that's what me and
Yeah.
my buddies, no matter what we're doing, everything's a competition. So maybe it's that, but I don't know. I've never really gotten into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar growing up. I wasn't really big in video games, and I feel like I'm a step behind when I play against one of my friends. They've been playing their whole lives, and they're just they really. I don't know what it is. They're just really good at it. But
Yeah, I've tried a few times playing Madden, and I can't. I have to look at the controller to know what button's what, so I lose
yeah,
already.
yeah, that won't help. But okay, so we're bringing back to high school. You play
RBC.
freshman RBC. You play freshman basketball. Didn't play freshman football. But then baseball season comes around as a freshman, right? And you're, transitioning from freshman basketball, which is it's not really a long season, but it doesn't really give you that big of an off season, a full time off season for a baseball season. Obviously, you're playing basketball, you're running around, all that kind of stuff. Um, but talk about what you did do while playing other sports. While you were playing basketball, how did you prepare yourself for your freshman season in high school?
Um, well, the I always felt the Niners did a good job of getting, you know, winters up in New Jersey are tough, so they always did a good job of getting indoor space for winter workouts, having a lot of coaches there. They started, I think they might have started during basketball season actually, and uh, and it kind of helped me build up for this season without me really thinking about it at the same time. Like I was a freshman, I wasn't like you go out to pitch in freshman year, eighth grade, and you just move your
Yeah,
arm, do 5 arm circles, and you're good to go. So
yeah.
the older I got, the more I realized how important that stuff was. But my last year playing basketball, I just did like the winter workouts indoors, and then the RBC workout started, so built right up into it.
So what I want you to explain to everyone, obviously the Niners for everybody out there is a travel league or travel team organization um, for summer ball. That's what the Niners are. And I want
Mm-hmm.
you to explain to the viewers out there what type of workouts you guys did when you went in the winter because you guys were in a dome. I want
Mm-hmm.
everyone to get a visual that they're in a dome, in a turf dome. It's cold in New Jersey. They're not outside. You're not really hitting. You're only hitting in the cage, and then everything is just like different when it's indoor. You feel like you're throwing harder indoor. You feel like you're running faster as indoor, and I want you to just explain what were some things you guys did.
I feel like with what we were given, like you said, the indoor soccer field with two batting cages against the side, they did a really good job of like having everyone get their stuff done before practice is over. Like outfielders and infielders aren't doing the same fielding drills, obviously, during the practice. So we would have um, our bullpens, obviously pitchers and catchers, and then after you're done throwing your bullpen on one side, the Atlantic Club, you would walk down and go into the weight room. So pitchers and catchers, were good there. I know catchers would get their side work in with Galante, who was always a good coach to have. Um, but like I said, they did the best job with everything they could. Um, they ran it well. Kids listened. They did a good job of getting that point across.
Yeah, yeah, they're always pretty strict with their workouts and stuff like that. But you need to be when you got a whole bunch of kids, you
Yeah,
know.
when you have 100 something kids in
Yeah,
an indoor home, you gotta be stern with them, which was always
of
good though.
course.
It kind of helped get ready for the next level.
So um let me ask you: you're doing these workouts. You're a freshman. You're thinking, okay, like doing these workouts. Right now, your brother is a senior in high school
Mm-hmm.
on the varsity baseball team at RBC. Going through your head, you're knowing your brother has probably told you freshmen don't play on varsity. It just doesn't happen, right? And you, being as competitive as you are with your brother, you're probably like, well, that's not going to happen here because I'm going to be on varsity. And I want you to explain to everybody because, once again, I'm going to say it at RBC at that time, no freshmen played on varsity. It
No.
just didn't happen. If you were on JV, you're a good player. You were on
Yeah.
JV, you were a really good player. That's how I started. My freshman year, I started on JV. And I thought I was the man because it really doesn't happen. Same thing with David Glancy. When David his freshman year, he played on JV for more than half the season.
Yeah.
and he was a phenomenal freshman.
He was really good. Yeah.
So now that you're a freshman, you know this. I mean, everyone knows it. What happened after that? You're going into the tryout. What happens?
Um, well, by that time, I say my pitching was a little bit better than my hitting. So I wasn't really expecting, that my freshman year, your sophomore year, that team was deep too.
Deep.
Their
Yeah.
lineup was deep, their pitching staff was deep. A lot of senior top heavy. So I kind of knew I wasn't gonna be hitting on varsity. I would say my only chance of getting up there was pitching. But like I said, they had a lot of senior guys already, and then
Including your brother.
yeah, including my brother, which is always it's always fun to be in the same dugout. So that was my ultimate goal. I knew that was going to be my last
Yeah.
chance to do. Um, but yeah, then I ended up hitting on JV, and then when I started a game, I would go up to varsity. So
So you made varsity as a freshman, and you played. You were in the rotation, right?
yeah, yeah, I wasn't the guy though. I was just kind
You
of
weren't the guy. I remember Shane would come up from JV if he wasn't pitching, and then it came to a point where Coach Hausman, varsity coach, was like, "Yeah, you're not playing on JV anymore. We're just gonna have you up here." And I remember that because we would always be in the bullpen. I remember getting hurt my sophomore year. I was supposed to catch in the beginning, but then when I was working back, I would always have to catch you in the pen. And that's when our relationship started building a lot because
yeah,
we kind of like were just watching and kind of like figuring things out, and we're like, we were able to talk about what we wanted to do in baseball, which I thought was really cool, and I thought it was beneficial because we both had some really high goals for ourselves, and I remember going to the pen all the time and being when we had those conversations, it was like man, like I was like Shane, like I think you could play at a big school. You're like, yeah, you think? And I'm like, I don't know, because you're throwing 86 as a freshman, which is pretty hard. 86 is pretty hard as a freshman in high school. But I was like, I think you can. I think you could go to a big school, and that was the conversations. Your brother always believed that you could go to a big school, but he would never tell you.
never.
He would never tell you. He used to tell me, just like, look, like, don't tell Shane that he can play at a big school. Tell him he's like dog shit. I'm like, look, like, I'm not gonna tell
That's
your
right.
brother he's dog shit, but I remember having those conversations, and you're like, do you think I can go play in like Power Five program? And I was like, yeah, I do. I actually think you do. I mean, I'm somebody that my brother was committed to a Power Five program, and I don't know. He told me too. He's just like, I'm telling you, I think that Shane can actually do it. So those were the conversations, and we kind of were unsure at that point, right? You had a pretty good freshman year. Like I said, you're throwing 86, which is pretty hard for a freshman, and everyone was like, okay, like Shane's good. Shane's really good. He's on varsity. So I want you to explain to everyone a two-part question.
Okay.
First question is explain your experience being on the same team as your brother and playing on the varsity team as a freshman in baseball, just baseball. And the second part is outside of baseball. How much did you enjoy hanging around with the varsity players and your brother?
Okay, I got you. Um, like I said before, I kind of knew it was the last time I would have a chance to play with Blaze since like maybe
Yeah.
Little League.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was super fun though. I mean, like you said, you have older brothers. You know how it is. They're never going to tell you to your face. They never want you satisfied.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So as long as you know they believe in you, it makes it a lot better. Like when true emotions come out, like in games, and like you have a big play or you make a big pitch, like the emotions are going to show. You can't hide emotions. So like it would always be good to walk back into the dugout, whether it was me high fiving him or him high fiving me. Like kind of hyping each other up was always fun. And then being on varsity as a freshman was, like you said, at that time it wasn't really common,
No.
but now it's more common because they're getting these big recruits early.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in like uncharted waters, and I really didn't know what to expect. Luckily, my brother was friendly with a lot of the upperclassmen, so I would have to do little stuff like carry things, do this, do that, but never anything like that was like something a freshman would do anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it was good. And then hanging out with them, like it was cool as a freshman walking down the hallway, and then you like three of your teammates walk by who are seniors, and they're like messing with you. Leaving school early was a big one. That's only varsity did that. So
Yeah.
my freshman year,
Yeah.
I would get to walk out of class early. I would kind of make sure everyone knew I was leaving.
You get up, I gotta leave for baseball. You hear that, girls? Hey, you hear that?
Exactly.
Gotta go
Right.
for I'm the varsity team. I got to pitch today. I'm gonna walk around my gallon water in a suit and call it Love Day all day. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's exactly what
I'm gonna let you know that I play varsity 110%.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear a black suit with multicolored shoes and water in my hand and let you know that I'm pitching.
I'm gonna walk around like Garrett Cole today. That's how I feel. I remember you as a freshman too. Like I'm gonna put it out there. I remember you as a freshman. And I was young too. As a sophomore, being a starter on varsity wasn't a thing either. It really didn't happen a lot either.
Never.
And I was luckily, able to be a starter on varsity. Became the catcher there, and I was catching you, your brothers, seniors, and it was nerve wracking. Obviously, I never tried to show it, but I mean, you're catching these guys in big time games. It's like, it's wow. So obviously, we were the two youngest kids on the team. Me, you. I think Rob Gonzalez came up on the team. I don't know if he was there the whole year, but he came up. And then, no, he started. He started. Yeah, Scribb started too. So that was the whole thing. A senior first baseman gets hurt. Scribb's the starter at first. Third base got hurt, I believe. Something happened at third base. Rob Gonzalez was the third baseman. And then I'm catching as a sophomore. So you have sophomore there, and a sophomore behind the plate, which at RBC doesn't happen. And our coaches were kind of like,
what's going to happen this year?
What is happening? We got a lot of good dudes, but we got young players, right? So, and I think that we all performed we had good years. But we were the four youngest kids on the team. And I remember when we used to go out to baseball parties, right? Like it wasn't just hanging out with the upperclassmen on the team. We're hanging out with the upperclassmen in their grade. It was like senior only party. You got Nick Merlot who's hosting these parties, and he used to throw some really good ones. Let's be real. Well, we're at parties with like the senior class, and we're like,
at RBC too.
At RBC got some high profile names. I'm not going to mention, but we could. That used to go to those parties, and we're just sitting there, and we're like, what is happening? Like, what do we? I don't even know what to do. Maybe we should just play like Fortnite on the TV.
Oh, you know also on the team? Nimith.
Oh yeah, Johnny.
Yeah.
John Nimith. He was undescribable guy.
Literally, I wouldn't know how to describe.
I considered him more of an upperclassman more than our age because he was also a freshman who was on varsity early, and that was like a shock. My freshman year, he was on varsity. He was really good, and then a couple injuries and stuff, but yeah, he was another guy. And honestly, like those experiences, baseball aside, were like it makes you grow up real quick because you're there, you're at a varsity party, you're fired up. You're like, dude, what the heck is happening? But then again, you have your older brother there that's watching you, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe this is a good thing. What was your
Yeah.
what? Give me your best memory outside of baseball. Give me your best memory from that year outside of baseball.
Outside of baseball, best memory from that year. Yeah, I think. I'd say going up to outside of baseball.
Yeah,
I would say just like maybe like I can't like specifically remember like going out with those guys, but maybe like I couldn't tell you. I have to get back to you on that one. I don't know.
okay.
I haven't thought about it in a while.
Maybe the guinea tea party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a good time.
I was forced to wear a guinea tee. Well, the whole
Yeah,
team was, but I really wasn't. And I was wearing these. My brother made me wear these long red pants, like these red khaki pants with a gray guinea tee, and my hair was slicked back completely. I had no control over what I looked like arriving there.
we had a pasta party at Nick's house, Nick Merlot, and it was kind of it was just full on Italian theme, like mobster Italian theme. And then we had a party after that, so we didn't change from the party. We were just wearing guinea tees, jeans, slick back hair, chains out, everything. So
Everything.
that was a pretty cool. That was a pretty cool one from that year. We also, I mean, on the baseball side, what was your favorite memory from the baseball side?
That St. Joe's game.
Mm.
Remember? At 9 o'clock in the morning on a school day because they had prom. So
Yeah,
we had to leave. We had to leave in. I think we left it now. We had to leave in like first period. But when we showed up, they were still in school. So they had like
yeah.
at one point in the game, they had like their whole school surrounding our dugout, screaming at us. And we ended up winning that game. But it was like, wow, like
You pitched
just
that game, didn't you?
Blaze did.
Blaze pitched that game. I remember that.
Yeah,
That was a
I didn't see
very.
the.
That was.
I was in the dugout. I tagged along for that.
I personally think I was in the dugout as well. That game. I don't think I think I was struggling, so I don't think I was in that game. But I do remember winning Monmouth County that year.
I was in
Monmouth
the
County
dugout for.
tournament.
Yep.
So I played that game, and I was catching your brother as well. That was a
Blue
cool
Claws.
experience at Blue Claws. Yeah, that was cool. That was my first Blue Claws experience, and we won, and we got back on the bus, and then it was just awesome. But before that, honestly, my best memory from that year is beating CBA that day.
Oh wait, yeah. No, I was there for that one, and my favorite part of that game is when you hit that home run. And no, I'm not naming names, but you looked directly at a specific person and showed them that you were there.
I forget who did I look at.
Coach of the other team.
So I looked at Marty Kenny from CBA. If we're gonna be honest, I'm gonna name drop him because Joe went to CBA, had a good relationship with them, and I never went to CBA and stuff like that. And I looked directly at him, and I was like, "I'm here." And
Yeah.
it was actually my first and last home run in high school. And no, like honestly, like everyone on here, they know my story. I already had a podcast on that, but in high school, I wasn't really that good of a hitter, so I will remember that my only home run.
No senior year.
Yeah, I didn't get a senior year, but no excuse for the other three. But I did have to. That was like the biggest moment of my career, right there. At that point, I was hitting that home run against CVA, and man, that felt good. That was something because I was struggling.
Good.
Yeah, I was struggling bad going into that game, and I was like, well, we're playing CBA, so nothing else matters. So
Nothing.
But honestly, that and the bus ride back to RBC because it was a Saturday game. Back to the
One,
locker room. Come on,
the best part about that CBA game that it was at CBA.
at CBA, it was packed, packed.
Packed.
And
Packed.
then we get back on the bus. You got Moose saying whatever Moose says. You got Hausman really quiet up at the end.
We also had people telling us to get on the bus so we could leave before things got out of hand because
Yeah,
those schools don't like each other.
no, that's a rival, and we just kind of man, that was the last time I played CBA too, and it
I
was
played
just like,
I played in my senior year, and
yeah,
honestly, we beat them, but it wasn't like I pitched and it didn't feel the same. It wasn't like the
yeah,
CBA.
that was awesome. Okay, so now let's bring it back to, you're done with your freshman year at school. Now you play travel ball, travel summer for the first time in high school. What changed then?
Well, I committed that summer.
No.
No, I committed going into junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I committed going into junior. Actually, no. This was where like
It
school
started.
started
Yeah.
the game. Yeah, that was that was so long ago. I'm getting old. Um, I don't know that sophomore year team was up until that point, and I think probably on paper the best team we played for at
Well, I mean,
school.
you were. I'm talking about the summer. Like you went into summer ball playing for the Niners at a young
Oh
age. You started
yeah,
getting contacted then, right?
yeah. It was kind of weird. Although I forgot to mention this, my freshman year I pitched against middle one of the middle towns, and the kid on the other team was getting looked at by the scouts, like big league scouts, at that game. So I was pitching as a freshman. I don't know. I don't think they were watching me, but just like knowing that there were scouts there and seeing when he was pitching the guns being held up to the fence, I was like, oh, like this is sick. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm a senior, I want this to happen to me. Like this is cool. Everyone's talking about it. Like, oh my god, like that's the New York Yankees or something like that. Like, so that kind of gave me a little taste, and I wanted more. So then it got back into the summer, and that was college recruiting. Showing up to a tournament in Georgia and seeing probably probably like 10 like big schools behind the fence when I'm about to take it down. And I was thinking, I was like, oh my god, is this it? It's just like the biggest game of my career. I can't even tell you what happened that game. I don't know if I pitched good or if I pitched bad. And then I started talking to coaches, and it kind of just took off from there. Like the more you would pitch, the more people would see you.
Mhm.
So every time you were throwing, you were getting in contact with the school.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's early to get contacted at that age. Your brother was committed to go to Seton Hall, and Seton Hall then reached out to you. Were they the first school to reach out?
They were the first school to offer me. I think to reach out to. Yeah, I think to reach out.
How old were
Yeah.
you when they gave you an offer?
I want to say it was. I want to say it was my freshman year.
I think it was too.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think it was. I think it was before the season of freshman year.
It might have been, and it's funny you mentioned that because you go back and say you want to be on varsity because this might be the last time you're going to be able to be in the same dugout as your brother, and then you get an offer from the school that your brother is going to,
My
but you
first
don't,
one too.
but you don't
I got.
commit, but you're really, really, really leaning towards it.
I was pretty close, man. I was a freshman in high school, and then you're getting offered a scholarship by a Division I school. You're like, wow, that's my dream. Um, but like you're not thinking in hindsight that you're not thinking like, oh, I should wait for other schools. So like immediately I was like, oh, this is sick. I want to go there. Then I started thinking about it more. Talking to different people, and I still it wasn't counted out. It's not like I counted it out or anything, but hearing from other schools too was interesting in hearing what other coaches had to say. So,
Yeah,
uh,
no, of course. I mean, but you come back your sophomore season, but now you got your name's out there. You had a really good summer. People know you. A lot of schools are reaching out. What made you decide? Hey, you know what? I'm going big time here because we talked about can you you're asking can I go big time, and now it's like okay, I can actually do this thing. I could go big time school. When did those um, options become available to you?
um, I think it was after like a one of those PBR events, the perfect game event, like one of those indoor things in the winter. I threw a bullpen, and then um, I don't think coaches were allowed to directly contact you, so I would get them from like my childhood coach or our high school coach, and then they would just be like, call this number if you want to chat, coach here or whatever,
Mhm.
and then I would just call them and see where.
Okay, so I mean, you're that's it gets kind of crazy after you start getting calls from these big time schools, and I remember your sophomore year, you're playing. Now you're kind of more of a veteran on the team after playing your freshman year. Your sophomore, big part of our rotation for RBC. Um, we end up that's the best team, like you mentioned. That's probably the best team we've played on in high school. And fast forward, we're having a good year. Our best player gets hurt in the beginning of the year. David gets hurt in the beginning of the year, and we're still playing really well. Then something that's only happened twice or one time in Red Bank Catholic history is going and winning the short conference final. And we end up going to the short conference final, and Coach Hausman says, Shane, you got the ball. What
Mm-hmm.
was that moment like, knowing that there's history involved with this game?
Uh, I think I was sitting there and I was like, I should be good. Like obviously I was nervous. Like I know Coach Hausman really wanted to get it back to the school. Um, a lot of my closer friends on that team, a lot of me and you, three, our closer friends in the team were seniors at the time. David, Vinny,
Yeah.
Gonzo, O'Hara, all those dudes. So I didn't want them to leave school with that one. I knew I had 2 more years there, but I didn't want them to leave with that one. And then we ended up winning, and that was David ended up hitting a home run that game
Yeah,
too. So we
David
had to
hit a
get
home
back.
run. David hit a home run. I remember game planning for that game so hard, like studying Manalapan's lineup. And I don't even know. I remember just looking at finding whatever film I can get to be able
Mm-hmm.
to. And then I was like, this is the game plan. This is what I got. Because we always sat next to each other on the bus. I'm like, all right, this is how we're going to call today. And you're like, you started laughing. I'm like, all right, whatever. And, but before the game, I was like, what do you got? What do you got on today? And you're like, everything. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, we're good. And then you went out there and you hit through the hardest you've ever thrown. I mean, you hit 91 as a sophomore.
Yeah.
So that was an 86 to 91 5 mile an hour jump in a year. And it's like, okay, you're 91. And I remember after that, you're like, I just hit 91. That's like different. You know what I mean? Like it's a little different. And we ended up winning that game. Remember charging the mound, taking you out. And
Take me out. Done. Done.
hey, he tried to brace for the impact, but I wasn't not gonna take you down right there. I was fired up. But that actual same game, our teammate Vinny Bianchi gets drafted in the
Yes.
35th round, I think, by the Angels, which was like, what?
Sick.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We were celebrating on the field and he gets a call on his phone and he's answering it and everyone's like, yo, what's going on? He's missing the celebration. Then gets out
He
that he got
got drafted. It's crazy. But I think after that you committed, right?
After that, I think that summer, that was going into the summer, so I
Yeah.
went down to Virginia. I visited and fell in love with it. It was a good blend of education and athletics. So it
Yeah.
was kind of the best of both worlds. And I went down there with my parents, my little brother, and ended up choosing to go there. I feel like it was a good choice, though. Wouldn't change anything if I went back in time.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember you calling me saying I committed UVA, and I'm like, wow, I told you, you're gonna go big time. So now you're committed to a big time school. You're coming back your junior year, and now it's like you're committed to a big time school. You ended up throwing 93, 94 that summer. So now you jump even more, I believe. And we're coming back in the fall, and our team is it. On my senior year, your junior year, our team is rough. I mean, it is rough. We have like 4 dudes in the lineup, and that's it. I mean, it was going to be a tough year, but there are going to be a lot of pro scouts coming to see
Mm-hmm.
you in your junior year, not even your senior year, just to give it a good look, stuff like that. And obviously, COVID happens. Probably saved Red Bank Catholic from an embarrassing season. To be completely honest.
Well, let's go 4-peat in the chip. So I don't think we would have won it that year,
No,
but it helped us get 4 in a row.
it did. And then, so your junior years gets banged. My senior years gets banged. But there's still summer ball, right? I'm pretty sure you go to area code that summer or in the fall.
Yeah, one of them. I went. Yeah.
So explain to us what it was like to start getting calls from more like professional organizations after being committed.
Well, like after committing to a college like that, all you're thinking about is I'm getting the sweatshirts. Like, oh, Virginia this,
Yeah,
Virginia that.
UVA.
But
Yeah,
I'm not even thinking about what can possibly happen. So, I think when I went to the area code event, it kind of sunk in that it's a possibility. I'm getting drafted. So now that one thing is done, I try to move on to the next and see if I can get drafted at high school and sign with a team. So that's what I had in mind. And then the more I threw in front of them, the more comfortable it got and the easier it got.
so I remember hearing that you hit the highest you've ever hit velo wise at the area code. At the time, what'd you hit?
Hey, 95. I think it was 95.
So it was 90. I believe it was 95. When did you hit 98? Because you did hit 98 one time.
That was senior year.
Your senior year. So you hit 95 at area code. So now you're made a 9 mile per hour jump from your freshman year going into your senior year. You're throwing 95. You have good breaking stuff. You're working on your changeup, and now you got some really, really big conversations to have because you're going into your senior year, and people are like, "Wait a minute, you got a good chance of being a professional after high school. Your whole
Mm-hmm.
dream was to go to a big school, but now you have a professional scouts coming to your games, talking to you in the fall. You now have an agent, and you know it's pretty cool because now you're going into your senior year, and your first initial moment when a scout was at a game was your freshman year pitching against somebody who was getting scouted by the MLB teams, and you said to yourself, "That's what I want my senior year," and now you got it. Now you
Mm-hmm.
have it. You're going into your senior year. A lot of highlights. Jersey Shore Sports Zone, whatever, promos, this and that, preseason type of accolades. What was it like dealing with that kind of stuff? Was it pressure or was it more like okay, I earned this, like that time to just go into your senior year because you know how it is. High school baseball, your senior school season can determine if you're going to be a professional or going to college. And it's just that simple.
Mhm.
So I want you to
Yeah.
explain what kind of feelings you had.
Well, like I said about our team, your senior year, my junior year was kind of the same thing. We had this year. This was like that was like the first year where we had multiple freshmen who needed to make impacts quickly.
Yeah.
So no one really knew what that year was going to be like either. So I was kind of worried about that, and then obviously worried about taking care of my own things. But we did the best we could that year. We got that was number 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Technically
In
number
a
2
row.
in a row.
But let me ask you about your first outing.
First outing.
How many
Actually,
scouts were at the games?
it was a scrimmage.
Okay.
It was a scrimmage, and it was freezing, so cold. Um, I can't remember how many were there, decent amount, 20 something, but it was like I would say it was better that it happened in the preseason because a lot of my teammates at RBC, younger class, that's all they were paying attention to, right?
Yeah.
Just seeing them behind the scenes and looking at them. But by that point, I played in front of them in the summer circuit, so I was kind of used to it. But now I was trying to get my buddies from back home who had nothing to do with my baseball down south, trying for them to get used to it, so we can actually go out and win games instead of just focusing on them the whole time. So,
Because I'm not gonna lie, it was the Shane show in the beginning. Everything was about it. I literally, because I was in college and I just saw everything. It was like Shane Panzini, Shane Panzini, Shane Panzini. And it kind of took away from the RBC culture a little bit. Was just like, okay, RBC trying to win short conference again. But no, now it's like Shane Panzini, draft prospect. And there was no choice but for people to focus on it, I think. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I'm just saying that as high school kids that aren't used to 20 major league organizations playing in front of them, it's kind of a culture. It's like, what do we do? Like, do we do this? Do we do that? But then again, it also heightens everyone else's game because everyone's got to be on point now, right? I mean,
yeah.
if you're just a normal high school kid, you're not walking in your position if a Yankee scout is right there.
Yeah, I think Hausman did a good job. I think Hausman did a good job of addressing that early in the year too. Like kind of like the same thing. He's like this isn't just about one person. Like y'all, like you guys gotta fit the suit and like go out there and act like you know what you're doing. Basically, not like that. Like everyone knows what they're doing by that point, but
Yeah.
like no messing around. Act professional is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, yeah, you have to. You actually have to. You know, so you go into your first outing, it's freezing, 20 guys, whatever. How'd your season go overall? As a whole, how'd your season go? Do you think it could have been better or could have been worse?
I think it went as probably as well as it could have. I mean, like you could just throw fastballs and the teams we
Yeah.
play, most of the teams we play. There was a few games where like there was a state game against Eustis where I wasn't just throwing; you actually had to pitch. Del Barton was another one, and a few other games. But like I said, most of the time, if you just throw strikes,
Yeah.
by that point, you'll be good.
Okay, so you have a good year. Now we get into the pre-draft era, right? Pre-draft. After your season, did you have any pre-draft workouts?
I went to one. I went to Camden Yards
I think
I
that's
threw
when
a
you hit
ball.
98 Camden Yards.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, 98 at Camden Yards, which is, throwing 98 is no joke. And obviously, then at this point, it's like getting ready for the draft, right? Getting ready for the draft. Now you're like, all right, what do I do? What do you do? Honestly, you're not playing in the summer. You're just kind of working out, getting ready for the draft because the draft is in July now because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Draft is only 20 rounds. Everything is tighter. Now your
Yeah.
mindset's like, what do I, you're just basically just preparing for the draft. I want you to give your emotions like a day before the draft. What were your emotions like?
The day before the draft. Well, like you said, that whole time not playing baseball before it, I kind of focused on not focusing on it completely. Talking to scouts is a big part of it, but when I'm not talking to scouts, I'd be hanging out with buddies who didn't have like Dixo or Degnan or guys from back home where I could just hang out with them and just like be boys, like
Go to the
not
beach, all that kind of stuff, and
things that just kind of clear your mind. And probably about a week before the draft, kind of just settle down and hang out with your family and stuff.
yeah.
But personally, I wasn't for sure. Like I was 50-50. I didn't like. There's guys who know like before the senior high school season if they're going to college or not. I wasn't. I didn't have all my eggs in one basket.
Okay, so draft day comes. You're you're watching the draft, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and day one goes by. Did you think you're going to be a day one guy?
No.
So day one, you're like, okay, it's going to be day two, if anything. If you go past day two, you're like, I'm going to college. Day
Yeah.
two's there. Now you're nervous. Everyone would be nervous. You're thinking,
Yeah.
and obviously you're with your agent, your family, and what was happening with that process? Were you getting calls? Was it silent? Was it like, maybe, or was it like, okay, this is what we're doing?
Yeah. You would get calls before, but besides that, honestly, it was just not like a normal day in the house. Like my brothers were all there, my agent was there, my parents, and we were just sitting in front of the TV, like just hanging out, listening, like a normal day almost.
Far from
No
normal.
party,
Far from normal. Yeah.
far from normal in our house, yeah. But no party or anything. Kind of just me and my family hanging out, and it's a waiting game by that point.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of just gotta wait and see.
So what was the moment like? Sit there, people are getting called, and then you get the call. What was that like?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a call about being picked. It was This story is funny. My dad. I guess there's like a tracker on Twitter or something, and it was ahead of what was coming out on the TV. So my dad's standing in the kitchen and says it before it says it on the TV. So I'm like turning around when it says it on the TV. It was just it was a good moment. Don't get me wrong, but it was kind of confusing because I was like, wait, what? And then bang on the TV.
What your dad did he say it nonchalantly, or was like, oh wow, you just got picked from the Royals, or
I think he was like, I can't remember exactly what he said. I don't think he said anything about like the Royals or my name. I think he was just like, oh God, like oh my God or something like that.
I mean, obviously your agent, I know him personally, and he's probably
Yeah,
thinking, he's probably thinking, what? He probably didn't even know,
yeah. Yeah, probably
So,
not. I
but when
walked in
you,
and gave him a hug, but he kind of said it right before I knew.
but okay, so you get drafted, and you're now just like so relieved. But is the decision made? Do you know I'm going? Like, do you know I'm going to go to college, or am I going to be a pro? Like, once you got drafted, were you like, I'm a pro, or were you like, okay, I still have a decision to make?
Yeah, I knew I was gonna go by that point because um you kind of agree on a certain number
Yeah.
before they would waste a pick. If you don't sign, it's a wasted pick. So at that point, I knew I was gonna go, and then I had a few buddies over that night, so that was pretty cool.
Were you relieved? Were you like, wow, I'm a professional? Like,
I think it was a few days, maybe two some days after the draft where I signed the contract. So that was when it kind of settled in. I was like, oh, I actually signed a contract right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it that was probably. I mean, it was so cool because I'm playing summer ball, but I got the draft tracker on. I'm on the phone with David for like 2 hours. Like, what is going on here? How is he not picked yet? And then you get picked, and we're like, we're fired up. Like, we're fucking relieved, and we're really fired up about that. So, you get drafted, and I want you to give us a little rundown on your pro experience because you went straight from high school to pro. So, I want you to give full rundown on your pro experience thus far.
Yeah, got to grow up pretty quickly at that point. That's kind of where you need to have the feel thing and
Yeah.
know when to talk, especially as a high school dude, because there's a lot of college guys there and a few other high schoolers, but you don't want to make a bad impression early, especially if you're going to be with this organization for years,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. But um, it was it was different for sure. Like going out, flying alone to Arizona and being with no family and meeting. Luckily, there were three other high schoolers drafted with me, so we all
Three
became pretty close.
Musketeers, I like to call
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
I
it's a
met
good
them.
group of guys.
So.
Oh yeah, in the game of Salem.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you gotta grow up fast. You're a pro. Uh, you're probably thinking in your head right now because I think about it all the time. I'm still in college and stuff like that, but I think about it all the time. Like, wow, I feel like I was just at RBC. Like, what? What even is
Mm-hmm.
this? And now you're a
It's
grown.
crazy.
You're like a grown man now. Like
It is
you live
crazy.
by yourself or with two other dudes. You're a pro. You're just literally an adult like this. And
Well, it's crazy. I live down here in Florida. I live by myself. Um, about 20 minutes away from the gym that I work out at, and then my buddy Frank lives about 20 minutes away, and my other buddy Ben lives about 15 minutes that way. So, it is definitely good to have people around.
mm-hmm.
Like I said, I get to see my family. I get to see my brother and my dad actually come down in a few days to visit, but I'll go up home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so
And
it'll
that's
be
it.
good to go home. Yeah, and then back down here because you know how it is up there, man. You can't work out in the winter if you want
It's
to
tough.
throw a ball. Got a lot
It's
of things
tough.
done.
It's tough. You would have to go in the morning because the afternoon is too packed, and it's why would you? Why would you? Because obviously we're in the same state now.
Yep.
We're in the same state now, and just a couple hours away. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think I'm staying here in the off season as well. So
Are you?
yeah, I think so.
That's good. Yeah.
Like you said, there's no reason to go home
No.
to train.
No.
You're in the greatest state for baseball,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
there's no reason to go home. But yeah, Shane, if there's one piece of advice you can give to your younger self or younger listeners out there, what would it be?
Stay the course. Keep blinders on. Kind of do your own thing. Also listen to other people. Know who wants the best for you. Your family, your coaches. Hopefully, and we got lucky in our case. Our coach is one of the best
Yeah,
for us, but it's just about putting in the work and hopefully it paying off.
it's
And
great. I
do
mean,
good in school. Do good in school. Get good grades in high school is really important.
So I'm gonna touch on that. Be better at baseball than you are at school, and you end up like Shane. Let me tell you that. Okay, but school is important. Go to class, get good grades, whatever. But you could get all the good grades you want in the world, but if you're good bad at baseball, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's
Don't bet
baseball
on it.
first. It's baseball first. It is. You got to keep your grades up. But if you're not good at baseball, it doesn't matter. I don't really care. Coaches don't care. The coaches do not care what your GPA is if you're good enough. So let me just put that out. So anyway, Shane, thank you so much for being on here today. We're gonna have you on again when you're in the big league. So I look forward to that. Obviously, we're gonna talk more and stuff like that. But thanks for coming on. This was awesome.
No worries, bro. Appreciate you having me on. Good to hear from you.